What's up, guys? Iceman here. Welcome to the Diablo Research Institution. So, I have a confession to make. I am yet to find an uber unique item, alright? I'm talking about a Shaco, a Tyrael's Might, a Grandfather, a Doombringer, etc. Now, I'm fixing to find one as soon as possible because I've been working on this Lightning Sorcerer. But not just any lightning sorcerer. Now, it's a chain lightning sorcerer, which really sucks big you-know-what. But I just want to get the damn thing to work. And this is not your grandma's chain lightning. It works a lot differently in Diablo 4, which I'm not a big fan of. But I mean, I did find this amulet that's unique, and I'm kind of pleased with it so far. It casts a Nova when you collect Crackling Energy, and it kind of reminds me of the Diablo 2 Nova Sorcerer. So that's where I'm going with this. Just a fun build, really, to experiment with and clear trash mobs, basically. But there's a patch that's releasing today, and it's going to give buffs to all characters, all right? There's not a single nerf in this patch outside of the Holy Bolt Elixir. Now, that's something that a lot of people have been cheesing with, if you will, to get Fire in the Greater Rifts, or Pits, rather, in Diablo 4. But I've used it a little bit, not always. I probably use it about 15% of the time because I just don't like the idea of being forced to pop potions that have a little timer on them, and then you're going to do really, really good, and then your character's just going to kind of take a few steps back if you don't have the potion activated. But I know it's the less path traveled by, the less path taken, this, that, and the third, but that's just kind of how I've been running it. But nonetheless, let's check out some of these changes. Bug fixes. Holy Bolt Elixir now deals a percentage of your weapon damage rather than percentage of the enemy's health. This change is intended to reduce its effectiveness against the toughest enemies in higher tiers of the pit, but will still be really valuable for players throughout the whole game. We made this change alongside a reduction to the health of enemies in the pit, so players who are delving deep into the pit aren't heavily affected. Wow, Delve. That's actually one of the Path of Exile leagues that I played, and it was a damn good time. Looking forward to PoE too. Let me know in the comments below if you guys are as well. But okay, so basically the pit is going to be a bit easier now. I haven't really run down in it much because the patch hasn't taken place yet. I've just been kind of waiting for it to hit, which is going to be in a few hours to my understanding today. But apparently it's going to be easier, so it's a good time to get on there and test out your character, see if you can get further in the pit. Apparently the boss's health has been brought down in par with the monster health, so it's not going to be like such a massive boost of damage and health that the boss has compared to your general monsters, because a lot of people are complaining about getting one hit in the pit. I definitely was. My Necromancer probably made it to level 85 or 90 pit without trying too hard, and I just didn't really have much of a reason to try to push any further than that because I could run 80 to 90 pretty efficiently with a lot of time left on the clock still, and I just wanted to collect the materials. And that's another thing that they're changing, is that they're doing this so that players can more effectively collect the materials to masterwork their items, because it says right here, endgame changes. Health and damage levels have been reduced in the pit. The adjustment is most significant as players approach tier 60. So more players can fully participate in masterworking. So tier 61 and above in the pit, most of you probably know this, but some of you don't, is where you collect the highest tier of masterworking materials. And those highest tier materials allow you to masterwork your item from masterwork levels 8 to 12. So you can't do that without those highest tiers of materials, which you get from level 61 and beyond in the pit. Now, you can keep running higher levels of the pit, and you can go to the potion lady in all the towns and transmute the highest tier pit materials to the next tiers lower if you wanted to, so you can make those out of that, and that makes things really easy. But here's another massive thing that has changed, and it's actually going to help me, perhaps, defeat Uber Lilith, of which I haven't defeated yet. I probably got her down to 1/3 health one time. I've only attempted her maybe 10 or 15 times, and my character has gotten better since then, but I just was like, why am I going to bust my ass trying to kill her? It doesn't seem like there's too much of an incentive to do that. But nonetheless, all tormented bosses have had their health reduced by 30%. This includes blood boils from Tormented Echo of Lilith. So yeah, if you want to try that Tormented Lilith, and this is where you find her, you just open up your map. You don't need materials to fight her, which is kind of cool. She's that golden one. You see the little golden dungeon? It's like one of the only golden dungeons on the map. So it's kind of in the center, the Echo of Hatred. And you can just go in there and try to kill her if you want. You might have to be level 100, I don't know. She's really hard, and I've defeated a few 200 Tormented bosses, the Tormented versions of like Duriel and the other guys, but Lilith kicked my ass, so she's really tough, but I don't know, she's been nerfed a little bit, so I guess that means that we might have a better chance at fighting her. Let me know in the comments if you have defeated her yet. Now here's one of the biggest changes in this patch that I am most looking forward to, because again, I mentioned how I don't have any Uber Uniques, but there's kind of a reason as to why I don't. I didn't really bust my little tail trying to farm them. If I really wanted Uber Uniques, I'd probably be killing that Hell Maiden and Helltides over and over and over again trying to get one, or I'd target farm them from the Tormented versions of the Ubers. But again, there just really wasn't much incentive for me to do that because I just didn't think that they were all that great. Even though it was kind of questionable if I should toss Tyrael's Might on my Necromancer or toss a Shaco, for example, on my Chain Lightning Sorcerer, because that'll benefit the Chain Lightning by 4 ranks, which would be pretty damn impressive, and I could probably masterwork that thing up as well. So now there's a little bit more incentive to find them because a few of them have been buffed. And here's what they did with them. Mythic unique items. Andariel's Visage, for example, or Visage. Poison Nova now spawns on the enemy instead of the player. So, yeah, reminiscent of the Diablo 2 Andariel's Visage, you just blast the Poison Nova on your character every time it would proc, but now it'll proc on the enemy. So this is going to work out great for ranged characters, like, for example, the Chain Lightning Sorceress that I've just been messing around with a little bit, trying to get her right. You could stay in a safe distance, cast Chain Lightning, and it should proc the Nova now on the enemies. So I think that would be awesome. And the Poison Nova damage is increased by 50%. Now, it's not a massive increase. I mean, on paper, it sounds like it is, but the thing is, that wasn't a lot of damage we were working for to begin with. It was a few thousand damage. So when you're talking about getting higher in the rifts, or the pits rather, I just don't know how helpful that'll be. But nonetheless, that's what they did with Andariel's Visage. So now they also changed Doombringer, where the Shadow Explosion damage is increased by 100%. You got to be kidding me. Because I know that a lot of Barbarians are using Doombringer as one of their optional items, and it seems to be quite effective as it was already. So just to think that it's boosted by 100% is crazy. Ring of Starless Skies, maximum stacks of resource cost reduction and bonus damage increased from 4 to 5. This increases the maximum amount of resource cost reduction and bonus damage from 40% to 50%. And Tyrael's Might, one of the ones that I'm most interested in. It kind of works like the Holy Bolt's Elixir things, only it's every time you attack, I believe, it casts it. And depending on what kind of attack you do, depends on how the attack affects things. And it's graphic, like it'll either shoot in front of you, or it'll just blast around you like a Nova. So yeah, the Tyrael's Might just looks awesome. But nonetheless, Divine Barrage damage increased by 100%. So it's just gonna be freaking awesome. And I'm going to link this in the description of this video, so you guys can check that out if you want, all these patch notes. But again, all the characters have received buffs. I feel like they should have buffed other things, like, for example, my Chain Lightning Sorceress is still really low on the list in terms of the top tier characters and builds and all that. And I think Blizzard needs a buff. I think Meteor needs a buff, for an example. And probably several other things. I haven't really messed around with other builds. I've been primarily playing the Sorcerer and the... Oh, my dog is going off. I'll pause the video. But let me know what you guys think is good in this patch, what's bad in this patch, what else do you think needs to be buffed in this game, what sort of changes need to be made, what needs to be nerfed. They have done a massive buff to the Barbarian, and I have a like level 98 Barbarian or something who was a Dust Devil's Barbarian, so I might want to revisit him, because check this out. Dust Devil was already awesome, and they like shoot out when you shout. There's a legendary aspect where every time you shout, it just blasts Dust Devils all over the place. So you basically have all 3 of your shouts on your belt, and you can just run around and just shout, and it'll just kill stuff. It's just awesome. And then you can, of course, temper your gear to have 2 Dust Devils cast at once, or to have them be larger, or to have them do greater damage to distant enemies, or to have them do greater damage to closer enemies. So there's all sorts of little temperaments you can make with the Dust Devils. But now they've increased the Whirlwind Dust Devil damage by 100% with the Dust Devil aspect. So it's just going to be godly. It seems like they're trying to make this more viable against bosses, because the Whirlwind Barbarian really sucked against bosses, which I think is part of the reason why everyone went double swing instead. But there's just probably too many going double swing over Whirlwind is my guess, so they decided to bring Whirlwind up in some ways, and they've also increased it in other mods here. So, but nonetheless, check out these notes if you want. I'll link them in the description of this video. Comment below your thoughts on these matters. Again, if you will, like this video, subscribe to the page, and stay tuned for more Diablo 4 videos. Peace be with you.